Hi, hello, welcome to Man with a Mentor. I am the man, your host, Matthew Barnard, and you may be wondering what a show called Man with a Mentor may be about. And basically, it's about me finding interesting people who have found a career that they love and all the steps and things that they did to get to the place where they are today. And I have a great guy here today, and his name is Logan Moore. All right, Logan, I have something here I'm going to read about you. Logan Moore is a Cincinnati-based cinematographer and director who has collaborated with independent creators, short filmmakers, and nonprofit organizations, and holds a degree in media production from the University of Cincinnati. Is that a good little summary?
Absolutely.
Yay.
Wonderful.
Let's start with where you are now and what you're working on now.
Sure. So as of right now, my primary source of income is I do a lot of wedding work for this company based in Chicago called Old North Film Company. And they have a couple of divisions of themselves kind of spread throughout the Midwest. And we are both myself and another shooter who's in Dayton. We collaborate and we do a bunch of weddings across all of Ohio.
All right. Is that fun or?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's
Yeah.
Please ask me some questions because I got tea, I got things I enjoy about it, things I don't enjoy. It is a very specific type of job that requires a very specific type of person, and it was not what I had intended on like going into. Like you said, kind of before we started, we kind of rolled into the conversation of what we do to pay our bills. But this is a thing I wasn't ready to enjoy as much as I did to pay the bills.
Let's go back to like when you were little Logan. When do you think it hit you like, I want to be in film or media or what have you? When did the light bulb go off?
So I've always kind of had roots in telling the versions of stories that I wanted to for myself. In terms of what I understand about my peers, I think in terms of like the amount of time that I played with action figures was probably longer than normal. And I was always the kid who would take the heads of one action figure and the bodies of one action figure, and I would put them together to kind of make my own characters and have them like intermingle with each other and play out my own stories as they saw fit. But then something very interesting happened when I was around, was I 13 years old when this movie came out? But the seventh Star Wars came out. And at that time, I understood what it meant to revere and respect a movie in terms of when two people talked about a movie. It was like, I revere and respect this thing. This thing was foundational in terms of I watched this on the screen and this thing really meant something to me. But when I was reading about the production of the seventh Star Wars movie, it was when I started to learn what it meant to revere something in terms of what you were crafting from it. Like I would read these magazines and I would be like, why do I care that the director had a custom-made Panavision camera for this movie? Why do I care that he gathered these specific people to put in these elaborate costumes that haven't been made from this material since the 70s? So when I started to realize that there was like an avenue to revere these things that I loved in the craft and not just in terms of how I talked with people, I started to explore that more and more.
So when did you think about, in terms of education and how you wanted to like learn and find out about those skills? Like what did you think was gonna be the best scenario for you to develop that?
So that's a great question because for a very long time, I'm one of the very lucky few young people who was very confident in what they wanted to do from a young age, to the point where it actually kind of scared me, where I was like, I really know that I want to do this thing, but if I really know that I want to do this thing at, say 16 or 17, come 18, what's going to catch me off guard? What's going to surprise me in the veil of dynamic experiences that like young adulthood is? So I really, at that time, I was really certain I did not want to go to like a full out film school because I wanted a place that offered alternative avenues or, possibly other seminar experiences or types of higher learning that could possibly cross that veil of a pure film school experience. So I kind of tested out a couple of things. There's actually a pretty prominent organization in the greater Cincinnati area called their name used to be the Underground. Their name, I believe, is the UG Academy of Cinematic Arts right now or something.
Oh, okay.
But they offered a couple
Google it,
of
people.
And I might not have given you the right thing to Google, so best
Right.
of luck to you if you
Right.
try to look for it. But they offered a couple of varietals of more direct film school experiences for younger people, and I just found that I didn't gravitate towards those kinds of experiences. I wanted something that felt a little bit more diversified and took me in more directions. So that's why I really landed on UC, because I knew it was a place where I could take left turns where I wanted to, or if I wanted to, in the vein of the visual metaphor of like a tree, if I want film school to be the trunk, I can still let all these other things be these branches that still flesh out the tree.
Right, exactly. I think some of those other kinds of courses that you have to take, like if you have to take some languages or history classes, you kind of think, ugh, why? But that can open your mind to like other cultures, other things out there that can inspire stories and all that. So I think sometimes if you just go to film school and all you learn is like the technical side of things, have you learned anything about the human experience that will aid you in being able to bring a film to life that has those emotions and textures to them, right?
Right. Yes. Sorry, I thought that was rhetorical for a sec.
I threw it out there.
But absolutely, one of my favorite alternative experiences. That feels like a very pretentious way to say that. But I took a seminar on. It was literally called Education Controversy in America, which was just every prominent issue in the public school education system, kind of brought to a head in this really comprehensive curriculum with these really good essay writing prompts. And I had a really great teacher who like pushed me in different ways. And I took it because my partner at the time really wanted to be a high school math teacher. So she really gave me a reason to kind of get my foot in the door and not just learn more things about the world, but also learn things more about this person I loved.
Let's talk about tech though, because I feel like cameras and CGI and the whole thing of, motion graphics and everything and AI, God knows what is going to happen. How do you keep on top of the tech stuff if it's always changing? Like, do you feel like it's changed since you finished school, and how are you going to keep up with it?
So it's changed in a couple of particularly interesting ways. There's a first part of that question that I'll get back to after I answer this second part, because I think that's also a really good point in terms of like how do you keep on top of it, and the answer is you really don't. But in terms of actual technological advancement, it's kind of the old joke saying that when you pull out your iPhone, people who had this 60 years ago went to the moon with this technology. And it's like it's less about the advancement of the technology, but it's more about the democratization of it. It's about the technology that used to be inaccessible 10 or 15 years ago, or when it was accessible, it was, the size and price of a used car, and now it's the kind of things that can fit in your pocket. It's the kind of things that have been democratized to this extent that everyone has the tools to make the things they want in their pockets now.
What's your feelings on some people who say, oh, everybody and anybody can be a filmmaker now, that like the equipment is out there and cheap enough, but without the story, like it's all about like all the elements coming together, not just this technical piece of marvelous stuff that they have. It's more of a learning about how to put a million different pieces of the pie together, because it's a hugely collaborative experience, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I 100% do not believe that people who say that are discounting the process. I also believe nowadays the definition of filmmaker has gotten very fluid. I truly do believe there are people at engineering the quote unquote like vertical content style, like not just the things you see on social media, but like not just the things you see self-produced on social media with the front camera, but truly there is a caliber of vertical content that is a viable new wave type of filmmaking, and I don't believe it discounts it at all. I think the best of my favorite stories of filmmakers are the ones where you hear about Christopher Nolan was an English major because his dad didn't let him go to film school, so he wanted him to get something viable first, and then that taught him so many more pieces about the craft that he could put together. That you brought up a very interesting point about it's about knowing the melting pot of skills that come together to make the thing. Film school's not the only place to get those tools. It was certainly not the only place that I thought I was going to get those tools. And I'm certain that there are people who did not go to film school that have been and will continue to make things better than I have made because they have pieces that I don't have.
So how do you balance being creative and being out there with your business mind to, get clients and get jobs? You know what I mean?
I do. And I will also be very candid and put my whole foot forward, and that is one of my greatest weaknesses. Balancing the business savvy aspect and the creative aspect is absolutely one of the most difficult parts of the process for me. And really the solution I found to that is, again, it's making sure not to create that divide between you and your peers, because you even in a world where you are like the do-all creative who knows every part of a process to a technical T, there's two benefits that you get from a collaborative environment. One, it's just more fun. It's just so much more fun to have friends and bounce off of each other and understand what works and what doesn't because you're telling it to someone. And two, the mental bandwidth of doing everything yourself, even if you know every individual craft, you're just going to wear yourself thin. You feel like you're a piece of paper that's kind of like being torn at the seams, and all of a sudden someone's like shoving you under a water fountain. It's like, how are you supposed to hold your integrity when you're like literally put in the situation that's meant to tear you to shreds? Right. And that's kind of where the business savvy comes in, is if you continue to make friends, you'll find people that know how to do it better than you do. If you don't think you're good at it, find people who know how to network on your behalf. Once we get into some of the things that I can't really talk about, is because I have people networking on my behalf in places that are expanding beyond my wildest dreams, because they're really good at the business savvy and they seem really invested in bringing me along for that ride in a way that I've been very grateful for.
Are you wanting to do more creative, like feature independent films down the road? And do you think Ohio is an open environment for that, or do you feel like you might have to pick up and go?
I almost said yes and yes, but then the second question went in a different direction.
Oh.
I do not think, I definitely don't want to pick up and go. And I think Cincinnati's getting to a place where people who want to do this here don't have to pick up and go anymore in a way that is beautiful and spontaneous in a way I wasn't quite ready to see. You might have had this on your radar. We were third on the selection list for Sundance to land here, until I believe a critic who regularly went to Sundance wrote a piece that had some pretty derogatory comments about the city that rubbed people the wrong way in terms of its perception in the film world. But I've been very pleasantly surprised to see this kind of, in some ways, an industry that's always had its roots here, but also an industry that's blossoming in different ways. And much smarter economists are going to have more strong opinions about this than me, but from what I understand, some of the tax breaks in Ohio and that are giving people reasons to come and shoot here, like your Supermans, like your Alto Knights, and other big, tentpole star movies like that, the incentives are getting stronger. So, and especially because for reasons on top of reasons on top of reasons, production is moving out of LA and spreading across the country to places that are more financially viable. So I'm very excited to see what the future holds for Cincinnati as a film city.
What would you say was like the best thing, the most key thing that you learned in film school, and what's something where you feel they're lacking in giving you like a reality check or information about any specific part of it? Like, what would you say they need to focus on more that you didn't get when you were there?
Okay. I didn't give you a gap.
I love a two-part
I said okay
question.
too fast. So in terms of positive experiences with film school, what I would, if I were to go back in time and tell this to myself, I would say, you're not really going for the class as a whole. You're going for that one side comment your professor makes to you in the middle of the semester about one of your projects. That is a lesson that you will internalize and make you better in this version of the craft. from this point forward. It's the littlest things that you find like give you that kind of foothold above that allow you to elevate the thing that you're here to study. In terms of things that film school can improve, my experience is kind of warped. So my first 2 years of film school were COVID film school.
Oh, God.
That's where everything was some variant of online or asynchronous until I think maybe the back half of my second year, half of my classes were in person. So there is definitely a part of me that has internalized some kind of jadedness towards it in that regard. That back half point specifically, because like again, to kind of harken back to that earlier point about how much more fun the craft is when you're talking to people and bouncing off each other. I just didn't have that those first 2 years, and I really didn't start building what felt like a network of peers that I met in school until truly my 4th year of schooling, which meant at that time I was starting to make projects with the people who were coming in and out of their first and second years of school where they'd kind of gotten those networks in early. So it almost felt like this weird arrested development where I felt like I was stunted among these peers who had these networks because they were here and met people when they're young, and everyone I'm meeting well past my tenure here is expiring, and I'm trying to keep up with these people as they're moving on to bigger and better things. But all of my film friends are a year, 2 years younger than me for that reason.
If someone came to you and said, I want to work in media or filmmaking or what have you, what would be a solid piece of advice that you would give to that person?
It's a cliche. It's a very cliche one, but don't give up. But to kind of expand on the nuance of it, just because you don't see active progress in the direction you want to be going doesn't mean progress is happening. It just means that you're at a point where it's difficult to observe. Because you know this is a thing that you want to do, and you know that you are taking steps to build the skills that you want to, there is absolutely forward momentum, and it's gonna surprise you in ways that you're not gonna expect.
Do you think that there's a percentage of people that develop a degree in film and then maybe realize after like years of struggling, like, that I need to reassess and figure out like what's next, because this is maybe not working for me. Maybe I'm not the kind of person that this is a career for, and how to be okay with that.
Absolutely, there's a contingent of people where that's the case, and that's so far from a bad thing at all. Right. Again, I'm a very lucky young person who's in a position where I get to go full steam ahead against something that I feel like I want to do, not just because I'm convicted in what I know, but also I have a very privileged family life. I have very supportive peers. I have very supportive family members who are like keeping me going on this front. And if you're a person who feels like it's not in the cards for you, film is absolutely still a place where there's a lot of transferable skills. Right. It's still an industry where the things that I say, don't let this like narrow the field in terms of what you think you can do with it, but especially in terms of like grip and lighting, you learn so many craftsman skills. There's just so many transferable skills from film. If you feel like it's not for you, that is not the end just because you feel like that's all you've known. You absolutely have opportunities and avenues.
Let's talk about social media. Like, where can people find out about you? Sure.
So I have an Instagram at it should be at l.more_2020. In terms of things that are coming up, you will see them first on the Instagram. There's a couple of things that I'm working on that I've been very excited about that will be in some way, shape, or form publicized in the next couple of weeks via the Instagram, via a couple of story posts, possibly a main post. But that should be very exciting.
What is your hope, like long term? Like, give me let's see, Logan when he's going gray like I am. What do you hope?
That's a great question. At this point, my hope is very non-specific. At this point, I'm so happy with the forward momentum I have. Right now, I'm doing the thing that I want to do for money. That's the bar. Anything else that comes with that is a courtesy and grace that I didn't expect to be extended. There's absolutely some narrative work and some things that I'm excited to try, and some people I'm excited to meet that I'm very excited to kind of get that foothold in. But I will not be on a fundamental level disappointed if I find myself not succeeding in the narrative film world and go on 20 or 30 years. I'm very happy with what I'm doing.
I appreciate you, Logan, being here and telling me about filmmaking and your experience with film school in the University of Cincinnati and all that. And we will post those things so people can look you up and find you. And again, thank you for being on the show, Man with a Mentor, and thank you for listening and watching. This was Logan Moore. Thank you for watching Man with a Mentor.